The devil moved in. I was teaching a teenage class at church, doing well, but the devil come into the picture, and he destroyed what I had. Lost my home. Marriage was over, and I was down. And that's when the world started grabbing again. You know, never think it's once you give your life to the Lord that the devil's not going to come after you.
You got all the classic John Wayne movies.
Oh, yeah.
True Grit. Yeah. It's good when Brewster comes in.
McClintock.
Oh, yeah.
That was my favorite one.
Yeah, it's really good. You got a favorite, T?
Oh, yeah, I'm a Clint Eastwood guy.
Okay.
He likes Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, he's got some lines in his that won't quit. You know what I mean? Not much future in dying, boy. Yeah, he's got some good ones, Clint has.
Yeah. I remember did you guys ever see Back to the Future?
Oh, yeah.
That's Blake's favorite
Oh,
movie.
man,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
one of my favorite movies.
It's so good. But well, part 2.
Part 2, all 3 of them.
Yeah. Part 2, though, he goes back to the wild. That's the one
That's
where
part 3. He goes to the West, yeah.
When he goes to the Wild West, yeah.
Yeah.
So when he goes and he did he go by Clint Eastwood, right?
Yeah.
I
He
think-
went by Clint Eastwood
Yeah.
when he went back in time, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
She thought his name was Calvin because he had Calvin
Calvin
Klein underwear on.
yeah.
And she had his... Oh, that was great.
That alone, like you go back a couple hundred years or 150 years, and it's so funny because people like there was not like branded clothing like that.
I have
you
no
know?
idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean there may have been brands, but like you wouldn't have like Calvin Klein underwear. Like that's
Well, if your name was on your underwear, that's just how they knew it was yours.
yeah, exactly.
What was the point in that?
My underwear had my name on it a lot when I was in the service.
Really?
Had my name and a social security number on it.
Oh, that's why she thought he was in the Navy.
Yep, that's it.
Oh,
That makes sense
That's
in
a
the movie.
that's a military mark. Everything you had your name and last four on it. They
What-
put the name and last four.
She thought he had a life. Remember, she thought he had a life jacket on.
yeah,
So that's what it was.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
thought
yeah.
he was in the Navy.
that's right. Yeah, because he was wearing that like
He said, "Where'd you pour it in from?" I
Yeah.
thought it was just because of the life preserver, but it's
Yeah.
because his name was on his underwear.
it's true.
He's wearing the life jacket. They thought he had a.
Oh yeah. See, I'm. It's still
He
clicking.
wore
but
that
makes
fluffy.
sense.
He wore that fluffy vest.
Yeah,
So it
like
looked-
from the 80s.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
it looked like he was. Wonder why you didn't see any parachute pants in that movie. I can't remember seeing any parachute pants.
I don't know.
Did you wear Did you wear parachute pants?
No, no, I wore fatigues, not parachute pants.
Terry in the parachute pants.
Terry said when everyone else was wearing parachute pants, I was I was already dressing for combat there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Well, you want to get started here?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the Bearded Brothers podcast, where the beards are real and the conversations are even realer. I am glad you have joined us for this episode. We have a special guest here, Terry, who's going to give some details on what it's like to leave the world for Christ, a life dedicated to the Lord. And we're going to have all kinds of point of views on this topic. So as we get started here, Matt, do you have something you want to open with?
Well, I think it would be appropriate to thank you for your service,
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
and we appreciate that. And we're looking forward to Saturday for the Veterans Breakfast and an opportunity to get to honor you guys. And we fully acknowledge that if it weren't for men like you and women like you over the years, that we couldn't sit here freely and talk about the things that we want to talk about. The wonderful thing about this ministry is, of course, unfortunately, there are some censored things when you talk about social media. I don't guess it's fully uncensored. You know, you have to be careful with some words, but for the most part, just being able to be here in your garage here in the studio with no persecution or suffering,
Yeah.
and
for the most part, be able to talk about what we want. We appreciate that.
Well, there's one thing about being a vet. Everybody that you meet that is a veteran, they're your brother. You know, I mean, you get a bond in there that you can't break. I've got, which I've told you guys, I've found a couple of friends I hadn't seen in 40-some years, and and just like they hadn't been gone no time. You know, we just correspond to each other when we met. You know, and I mean it was just like we was always there, and we've never forgot each other. And that's the thing about it, because well, I was fortunate I didn't see no combat, but if you're in it, they've got your back.
Yeah.
They've got your back.
Yeah.
What's that noise?
It's that fan. It's that heater, I think.
Is it?
I think it's the heater coming in. I heard that. Let's try it now.
All right.
Yeah, that was what it was.
Yeah, we got.
I was trying to dial it out. I was like, what is that sound?
We're okay. We're warm.
Now,
We're good.
now the next thing they're rattling will be the teeth.
Look at there. There's something going off.
That's me. I'm supposed to be taking medicine, so if I go down,
Oh, we'll get you.
Did you forget it?
Do that. Just number us, I guess. We're
right.
winging this one. We took the monitor out because I'm leaving this in. We took the monitor out because we changed our camera angles. So
Okay. We don't need it today.
no, we don't need it. Dawson just say, hey, you're at your 1 hour or
Oh,
your
yeah,
20
for the
minute or
timing.
whatever. And Terry, if you feel like you've shared all you want to share, you just let us know and you're free whenever. We're not going to.
It'll go by quick.
It goes so fast in here.
It's fine.
okay.
But no, I think touch on that a little bit, Terry, if you don't care. Like the maybe how that's correlated the brotherhood you learned in the service compared to brotherhood like in the church.
Well, in the service, you're protecting each other, and in church, you're trying to. I guess the brotherhood in the churches, you're fighting the war, trying to reach people that don't know God,
Yeah.
and that's the main battle right there. Because even when I was in the service, there was a lot of guys that never even talked about the Lord. They didn't even respond to anything you'd say, but there's a lot of guys that prayed each night, you know. But I would say that the brotherhood in the church is through Jesus and where we've been saved. But in the church, but the brotherhood in the service is it's just a bond that you know that you could be put in a situation where that you may have to sacrifice your life for your brother.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at that.
I admire it. I mean, I really admire the dedication. I mean, I think we talked about that not long ago about how a Marine will literally just, if they see a grenade come in for the platoon, they'll usually jump on it if they're the first one to see it to save the squad. And, you know, if we correlate that into our lives as Christians, you know, thinking about being willing to go out of our way to help a brother leave sin, you know, and we're often, I can speak to my generation, we're so tempted to just look over things because we don't want to offend somebody.
Yeah.
But that kind of bold, I mean, we are in a war, you know, we're in a spiritual battle against a real adversary.
Constantly.
Yeah. And if we can shift our approach to that mindset too, like, look, you know, we got to lock arms and do this together because we have a real enemy this, it has different tactics for each of us, but he has the same end goal: to steal, to kill, and to destroy. You know,
And you know, like watching each other six, you know, always having each other's six, you know, that can easily be applied to our relationship as brothers. Like Ian always knowing, like, I got your six, man. Like, there's a transparency that we need to have as brothers.
Yes.
When we try to, you know, hide everything in our closets and, you know, cover it up, it's really bad. But on the other side of that, we also need to be willing to be meeting people with full amount of grace.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and zero judgment, you know, so it's very important. Like if we can be that vulnerable and that transparent, but also that when they bring those cares or the things they're going through in life, because life is real, life is hard, and it's important for us to not be judgmental. Sure, there's an answer for all these things, and to the best of our ability to share the word, to try to help someone through whatever they're going through.
Yeah.
I'll share one other thing with you about that. When we went in there, I met people from all over the country. I mean, from Rhode Island and everywhere, and didn't know these guys, you know. And I spent 8 weeks with them and had a DI, well, a drill sergeant. They call them drill DI. I had a DI and Sergeant Cordova. And I'll never forget him because when I went in there, I didn't like that man. I didn't like that man at all because he was rough. Like I told one time, I wanted my mama. He told me, he said, I'm your mama now, but I didn't like that man. But the thing about what I'm leading up to is all us guys, when we got finished that 8 weeks, we all met one night there together. I mean, actually, guys cried because they had one were sitting here and one there, going different ways. And I remember Sergeant Cordova looked at all of us and he said, boys, I hope out of all this with men, he didn't call us boys, that I've taught you something that someday will save your life or you can save somebody's. And he become a good friend. And I mean, that just goes to show you what a bond they are in there with those. And that's the way we should be when we work for the Lord.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, hope we can do something to reach someone so the Lord can save them.
That's good.
Yeah.
We were talking about, wanting me to share a little bit. I mentioned to Matt, when I come out of, well, part of this was when I done my communion meditation, but when I was a young kid or young boy at home, Mom and Daddy always took us to church, like we talked about. It wasn't something you went. I mean, you got in the car, you went to church when church time come, and I was saved at like 10 years old at a Methodist church, was sprinkled me, and I told this a couple other friends of mine, but they're both gone now. And I think about that a lot, that's my time. I'm getting some years on me, and my time is, I don't have as long as I used to have, but as you get older, you get closer and closer to the Lord. But when I'd never been nowhere in my life, we didn't have much coming up, but we had a lot of love in our home. And I don't ever know that my brother or any of my sisters, we've ever had a harsh word with each other. We've always got along. I mean, and that's rare. I don't know my brother and me have ever had a fight.
Wow.
We've never scuffled or nothing. But when I got to become a teenager, I got a little rowdy, one of those like all teenagers are. We had a buddy in school that his mom would let him have the car, and we'd go out and the fountain in Johnson City. I don't know if you remember the old Fountain Square. We used to split dishwasher liquids and throw it and come back. The whole streets would be soaked up, Boys, kids. But we never did nothing really bad, but just mischievous stuff like that.
Sure.
But you'd have to hide it from Mom and Dad because Daddy'd tear your tail up, if he caught you doing stuff like that. But anyhow, when I got out of high school, like I said, I'd been to Knoxville a few times. The FFA teacher takes us to the Knoxville Fair, but they sent me to Fort Polk, Louisiana. It was, what it was for was for Vietnam training is what it was for, because it's swamps down there. And when I got down there, I had nobody to watch me or to discipline, so I could do anything I wanted to do. And it got pretty wild, and done some things that I'm not very proud of. And, we talk about how the Lord, once you ask for forgiveness for stuff, he forgets it, but the old devil keeps bringing it back to me. Every once in a while I'll think of some of the stuff I did in there, and you hide your head in shame. But anyhow, I made it through that. He seen fit to let me live through some of the stuff I done, and he was there, and I'm sure that it wasn't very pleasing, some of the things I done. But when I got back, I didn't have a job. So I told Matt about this. I got on working for a beer company. I was driving a beer truck, and some of the guys I worked with were good guys. But I got back in church. I started back to church. The couple of the elders and Mr. Fitzsimmons, Charlie, I call him Mr. Fitzsimmons on here, but he's a good friend of mine. Charlie baptized me again. I was there one night, and he was talking, and the Lord just grabbed me, and I had to go. You could feel that. But when I got back, I was baptized, but boys, in life, it don't just change like that. I still had rough days, and I'd do stuff, and I think, I can't do this. I can't do this. And working at the beer company was not a good thing. I was trying to go to church, but then I'd lay at night, and I'd think, well, here I am taking this alcohol into places, and somebody might have got drunk and killed somebody's kid. This stuff goes through your head. And I thought, I need to do something. So they was one of the elders at the church. I talked to him about it, and he said, I'll help you get you a job. So he helped me get on with the state of Tennessee. I started there. And, the job I had was a good job. I went to work for the state making as much in a month as I was making in a week
Wow.
at where I worked.
Wow.
And it was hard to leave that, I mean, I thought, what am I going to do? But I left. I stepped out, like you say, kind of like old Peter was when he stepped in the water. I stepped out and went on my way. So I survived that, come through all of that, and worked up and come out pretty good. So got married, and I don't want to get into this a lot, but anyhow, the devil moved in. I was teaching a teenage class at church, doing well, but the devil come into the picture, and he destroyed what I had. Lost my home. Marriage was over, and I was down. And that's when the world started grabbing again. Never think it's once you give your life to the Lord that the devil's not going to come after you. So he started pulling again. And if I hadn't had my church, I'd have probably don't know whether I'd be here today or not. But the people in church, and like I said, there was one of my friends in church. He never left my side. He would check on me every day, and he would always make sure that we had something to do, to go to a ball game or something to keep me occupied. Because I had slept some. I really had. And then, man, it's I don't want to get emotional in here, but anyhow, he sent me Lena. I got back in church, playing church softball, and that's where I met her at one of the ball games. And it's the best blessing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, she's a wonderful woman.
We love
She
Lena.
is, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I tell you what, boy, she keeps me going. She keeps me in line. And I thought I was about to give up.
Mm-hmm.
I was beating around in that water, but I reached up and he took a hold of my hand and he pulled me out of it.
Praise God.
He pulled me
That's
out
awesome.
of it, and it's not easy. I still have trouble today. There's, like we talk about, everybody faces this. But don't ever forget, guys, I'm here to tell you that no matter how good things are going or what it is, he can sneak in the back door. And like in Sunday school when we was talking Sunday, you got to make it right with you before you can anybody else. If you're right with the Lord, I can stand and talk to you about some stuff if I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. But anyhow, he gave me Lena, and ever since then, we've had a marriage. I mean, there's never been no doubt about trust or nothing, and she's a good woman. She waits on me hand and foot, and I do my best to take care of her. But God has really blessed me in that way.
Wow.
And I joined the church back, well, like I said, but I've been with the church now, I believe 48 years I've been there now. Jack and Sheila come a couple of years after I was there, and I talked to him about it, and I told him it's a good church, and he come, and Jack and Sheila and Lynn and myself have done a lot of things together, and I miss him. I miss him. That's one of these brothers that that you talk about that you had, that he had my back. Jackson taught me a lot of stuff in church. But
So when you took the job with the beer truck, was it? I assume you kind of dealt with some conviction,
oh,
like you're saying it was eating you. I mean, was it eating you up pretty bad, or like robbing you of all peace?
when I first started, I wasn't in church.
Right.
I mean, I was running. I worked the bars, and I knew all the people in the bars. Some of the girls that was in the bars. I mean, it's. And then I think about that today, and I think, wonder what ever happened to those people. If I would have known what I knew now, the difference I could have made if I would have worked there, and could just said some things. But I was just as bad as they was. I had no knowledge of what was going on. I was making money, and
Yeah.
it's the world.
Was there a specific person in that season of conviction that like poured out the Lord to you, or shared, or what led you back to the church specifically?
Preston Story and Jack Masters and Charlie come to see me one night, knocked on the door, and I thought, oh, what do they want, And they come in, and we sat on the couch, and we talked, and Charlie talked to me quite a bit. And Preston had as much knowledge as any man I ever met about the Bible. I mean, we was at Bible school one time, and I was over the you see verses and get points and all this and that. I went up there one time and I said, Preston, I said, your church or your class is behind the adults. No Bible verses been memorized and turned in. He said, where do you want me to start? He just rattled me off a chapter, And I thought, man, a man knows that. I can't remember nothing about it. I mean, when it comes to, something happens, you think of a verse, but as far as that.
Yeah.
But anyhow, like I said, to get back to what we were talking about, and then a little bit later they come back again, They didn't give up on me, and I thought, well, I'll try it. So I went one Sunday, missed one, went back again, and then finally kind of got hooked up with Charlie. He worked with me a lot, and Pat. Me and Pat and Charlie, we baseball fans, and we done some stuff together. And then one night we were there, and Charlie was preaching, and it's just like the Lord, it's time. And I mean, I had a feeling in my chest that I'd never had before, and I mean, I just couldn't help it. I just got up, and I said, I've got to go up there, and I did. So those guys played a big part. I mean, that's why it's important for us to. I've always said, if the Lord puts somebody on your heart, go see him.
Yeah.
Go see him.
Could be life or death.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, totally.
That's right. But Ian's heard the story, but I told him I was going to tell you guys the story. One of the highlights of my life after I became a Christian was, you remember, heard the story, Matt, but I used to mow yards for the widows. When I got my lawnmower, I'd mow different yards for about 7 or 8 widows. And there was this little lady that lived up above Lena's mom, Miss Blevins. She was like in her 90s, and she lived in this little old house by herself. And I'd go down, and it took about 5 minutes to mow her yard. But anyhow, I would mow it for her. And when I first met her, she had one of the old-timey screen doors, with a little latch on the back, like in the old days. And when I'd finished, she'd unlatch that door, and she'd stick my money out the door and pull it back and lock it right fast. She was afraid of me, I guess. I don't know. But anyhow, we got to, I went on for a while, and then I'd get to talking to her a little bit. And finally one day, she said, I made some cookies. Do you want to come in? She unlocked the door, and I went in, and we sat around the table, ate a couple of cookies, and got to talking to her. And I started telling her about the church. And Lena and myself, we camped a lot then. We had a camper, and I'd tell her about camping, frying potatoes, and all this and that. Well, as it went on, she had a porch swing or a swing out in the yard, like a porch swing. And I would mow, and when I would get finished mowing, she'd be sitting in the swing. She was outside. 5 minutes to mow, 10 minutes at the most to mow, and an hour before I left. I would sit down with her every time I get finished mowing. And one of the best times of my life, talking to this lady, and you learn a lot from these people. And one day we were standing there, and she said, I want to ask you a question. She said, at your church, do you think that I could be baptized there? And I said, yeah. She said, well, I've asked my daughter, and she keeps telling me, well, we'll do it, so I'll keep putting her off. And I thought, right, I said, do you want to go today? She said, no, I can't go today. But she said, do you think it would be all right if we went down there and I was baptized? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, well, I would like it was Lena's dad. She called him Crane, said, I would like for Crane and Mary to go. And I said, that's fine. So Aaron's dad, Dewey Mulligan, he was our minister then, and I called him. He said, bring her down. So we took this little lady down there, and she was baptized and gave her life to the Lord again, rededicated her life because she said she wasn't comfortable because she'd been out of church so long at her age. And that was one of the highlights of my life.
You said she was in her 90s?
She was 90 years old.
Wow.
And I was able to help that lady, something that she wanted to do to make it right with the Lord. So that's one of the highlights of my life.
That's awesome.
Ian does that. You mow for people.
Yeah, I mow on the side. Yeah, not so much right now where it's got so cold and grass is dying. But yeah, I've met some people, talked to a lot of old people like that, and not to that extent. So I've never took a 90-year-old lady to get baptized, but we've had some good talks and try to talk them in a good direction.
Yeah. Well, so often it's just scattering seeds. And by the grace of God, this woman's the seed that you scattered just by showing up for her, just for mowing her grass, that alone, it's sometimes not even words we say, but just actions that we do.
Yeah, definitely.
And man, that's also a fruit, an evidential fruit of your conversion to Christ. And that's that's ultimately what we're all called to do. I wanted to talk for a second about, you brought up an important point in your testimony, that when you, we're talking about leaving the world, and leaving a good job. I mean, it's, ethically wrong that you feel like, man, there's just something not right about this, but a good paying job. And, sometimes that can be hard. So we understand that, like, there's oftentimes a cost that is tied with our convictions. Did you say you were married at that time or no? When you left the truck, the beer truck, or not yet?
Yeah, I was married then. Yeah.
When you left,
Yeah.
what did your wife think about it?
Well, we like to starve to death.
Yeah.
But she,
I mean, that's a big pay cut.
well, yeah, she was well with it. I mean, and really, she went to church with me, and we were teaching, and we done a lot of stuff with. I think Pat was maybe a teenager at the time when all this was going on. He wasn't very old.
Yeah.
When I first started back into church, but
What about your family, like Billy, and did they have any specific reaction to you leaving, or?
No, because I mean they were all working, and nobody really thought that much about it, because I mean, like you said, I was making a good living, and it was not only to go to church, but I mean, it was bothering me so bad. I thought, "The Lord, can I make this if I go?"
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I mean, and that's where sometimes you leave your comfort zone to move on, and
Yeah.
and ever since I think that was the key to it. When I made that step, it didn't come overnight, but when he seen that I would do that, and I was really sincere, because I wanted to get out of that, and from then on, it's just been better and better. I mean, there were times through my life when I slipped, but like I say, you reach out, he's there,
Yeah.
and he don't move. We're the one that moves.
That's right.
Yeah.
He never leaves you. He's always there, and I praise the Lord that I'm where I'm at today.
Well, they say if your Christian walk isn't receiving any opposition from the devil, then you're probably going in the same direction he is.
Yeah.
When you feel that pushback, typically that means you're probably doing something right.
Well, when your conscience quits bothering you, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You ain't feeling convicted anymore, If you feel that conviction, the Holy Spirit's working.
Complacent Christianity, man.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
And even consumer Christianity, going to church just for what you can get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Popping in, you put your $2 in the offering plate, and you heard the sermon, and you dip back out. Don't talk to nobody. You're just there to consume. You're not really doing much for your relationship with God.
Well, that's one thing about our church. You ever notice on Sunday after the service, 30, 40 minutes will be people outside standing around talking.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good thing.
I like that. Service ends, people linger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy to see each other. Sometimes before you even get back into worship, you got to wait a little bit, because people when you do your greeting, you have you sing a song, and then a little bit greet everybody. And I've seen Tim standing up there waiting, waiting on everybody to get back to their chair.
His favorite catchphrase is, "We're going to sing them in."
Yeah, sing them in.
That's a good thing.
It's a good fellowship, though. I love getting there. I don't know how early a lot of their preachers over the last 20, 30 years, 40, 75 years have, a lot of the times your pastor, your preacher's the first one at the church.
Yeah.
And I am not that guy. I'm always walking in at 9 o'clock or so. Now, we're really trying to do praise band practice at 9 o'clock, but usually before that, I would even get there like 9:30, which is just 15 minutes before, and Pat's probably been there 40 minutes or so. But all the men are outside standing around talking, and I get to fellowship with them for 5 minutes before walking in, and it's a good thing to see some of these guys that grew up playing ball together, and all these guys in our church that went back a long time, that Christian brotherhood. And I think sometimes, like, when we're in those seasons of conviction and the Lord's convicting us, that's a good opportunity to lean on your Christian brothers. And I think it's a wonderful testimony that, that Preston and Pat, they stuck with you. And I've seen you even do that with, another young man that's kind of struggling in the last couple of years, in and out of jail. And you've been there, and, you told him the importance of, hey man, stick with these guys, stick with me, stick with these guys. And, sometimes that's a key part of walking away from the world, is walking away from the friends you have in the world, or even the things of the world, and saturating yourself around people like Christian brothers.
Well, now, most of the guys that I worked with at the beer company, they were older men when I were working there, and a lot of them's gone on. They've passed on. But one of the guys, when I first went to work there, I was assigned to him as a helper to work with him. And he gave his life to the Lord, I forget so many years ago, 10, 15 years ago, and he's real active. I mean, he takes a big part, and if you meet him, you know that he's serving the Lord. And I've thought of that. He's another one that come out, and I don't know how long he worked there, but he come out and he's got a different job now, and he's serving the Lord.
Wow. Well, you touched on like the relationship aspect of Emerville, and I've said this every dang episode, I think, the unity in ECC, but I think it mirrors the New Testament church, because it wasn't like today's church, especially these big mega churches, they're just big on marketing and advertising. Like they're on billboards, they're pushing social media content, and that's great that they're getting people in.
Mailers.
Yeah, but the thing is those people don't know each other.
Yeah.
And so when they start going through a thing, or there's a big emotional aspect of the church that takes place, people just get scattered like sheep. But whenever you're doing it more like the New Testament, where everybody knows everybody, I mean, you go to Emerville, and your consistent members, they're related to somebody, they're best friends with somebody, one of their friends brought them in, and even the friend that brought them in might not be there no more, but now they're friends with other people. And when you're that tight-knit with each other, you can get through anything. And that's how the New Testament church was. You look at the New Testament church, they were family members, they were close friends, and they just kept growing that way. And if we disciple in that way.
Yeah. Well, Ian, if this is kind of like your story. If you're comfortable, if not, we can cut this whole part out. But can you talk about how you found your way to Embryville?
Yeah, well, you want me to talk about how I started.
Well, I know you guys helped with the plumbing.
Yeah, we came to a trunk or treat with a friend of ours. Told us to come out there and try the trunk or treat, and we came out there, and we loved it. And then it was weird because the next week I was driving to the job, and it's the same address I was just at 2 weeks ago, and it was the parsonage, to replumb the parsonage.
Uh-huh.
So we done the plumbing on that, and weirdly enough, the next 2 weeks, we got invited to come back to, come to church, and we just been there ever since, and we love it.
Yeah,
it's awesome, man. The churches I've went to growing up are polar opposite of Emerville. I've got some church hurt. Me and Blake's witnessed some of it. It's just some judgy surroundings.
Yeah. No, and I guess I'm partially assuming, but the friend you were referring to is Megan and
yes,
Matt.
Megan and Matt.
So that's what I love that. When you look at that section of our church right now, Megan and Matt started coming, and they've just been also inviting their friends and people who they know, who they believe would be a good fit, and even people who maybe they don't even really know. It's not really based on that or anything, but you and Bretlin, and then even this woman, I'm pretty sure this Sunday, right? I think there was a woman that
they brought a friend in from work. Or
Megan brought a friend in.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Had a couple little boys with her.
Yeah. That's how it. Like
cool.
You're saying, when you look at Acts, man, like now that whole section of our church has really been growing up, and it's again going back to scattering seeds. Matt and Megan were scattering seeds, and
if Megan and Matt hadn't have brought Ian,
Yeah.
And me and my wife wouldn't
Exactly.
be there. You know?
Exactly.
That left side of the church is getting heavy.
Yeah.
Going to flip.
We got to work on the other side.
Start
now.
rotating
Yeah,
everybody.
Tim and Mary's
Nobody wants to sit
family.
on the right side for some reason.
I'll tell you something to look at, guys. When we go back this Sunday, when we're at church, just take a few minutes. When Tim says turn around and greet or whatever, just look around a little bit. You don't see people saying hi, how are you? You see people hugging each other. You see
yeah.
people
Oh, yeah.
coming from the back all the way to the front to talk to someone. And there's people in there that what's helped me with that church more than anything is my daddy always told me, if you tell a man something, your word's important. Used to, if you built a piece of property, often be shook hands, and you could bank on that, and that's very, very important. So there's people in that church that you can take something to, and and it's if somebody tells you something and you let it get out and you lose their trust, it'll never be the same.
Yeah, that's right.
And my dad's always told me that, said, keep your word. Just like I told Ian, just example, I said, I promised Langston that we'd ride and go look at deer one night. And I told Ian, I said, I got to call that boy. I said, I promised him. And that bothered me until I called you and got him over there. But that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Don't tell some kid you'll do something for him and not do it, or don't. I don't want to tell you that I'll do something and not do it. When Matt asked me, he said, would you come over here? And I said, yeah, I'll come. And I come, and that's the reason I'm here.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never done this before. I was a little nervous about what's going on, but boys, when it comes to the Lord, shake the nerves and stand up for him.
Amen.
I tell you what, like your wife Lena and Miss Sheila, they're always about the new people. I mean, they'll flat dab walk all the way to the back, and they'll the half of the first song will be about over, and they're still talking to him in the back.
Well, I tell
Hugging
Lena all
around.
the time, I say, Matt's fixing to start. You going to sit down now?
Yeah, you got you a great wife,
Yeah.
Terry.
You always see Lena, she's got her hands up during worship.
Yeah.
I noticed that. And you can just tell that she believes it. She really believes it. You know,
Yeah.
I love it.
She's a good woman, folks. Not because she's mine, but she's a good woman. She is.
So how long you been married?
35 years.
Wow.
Wow,
That's awesome.
she's put up with you that long.
Yeah.
We should give her a reward.
She needs a
Yeah. Yeah, we've had some struggles,
That's marriage.
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
I told her, they're good struggles. She broke 4 or 5 years ago. I can't remember how long it was. Anyhow, she broke her femur. Lena did, and it was very, very upsetting. And we found out after that, people over 65 that break their femur, like 80% of them don't live because there's a lot of blood goes through that bone. And I remember her leg got this big around.
Oh, man.
But I didn't know none of this. And what I'm leading up to is when after she had the surgery and all that, we went to rehab. And Lena's kind of a fragile lady, she's not very strong, but I know she worked in that rehab so hard. She'd say, yeah, I'm going to do this, because she said she had stuff to do, she wanted to do. And she worked so hard in that rehab. And it was a bad time for us because she was down. But we had this little girl, a nurse, come in that helped take care of her. And during the time we were there, this is another one of my stories, I'm telling you. During the time when we were there, they were changing jobs. They were changing that whole place around. They was going to make part of it like a home, a nursing home, and then part was going to be rehabilitation and all that. Well, this little girl was concerned. Well, I call her little girl. But anyhow, this lady was concerned about her job and stuff. And she was in there one day, and it was bothering me. And I asked her, I said, honey, can I pray for you? And she said, yeah. Well, we sat there and we prayed and stuff. And when we got done, she was bawling her eyes out. And she said, nobody in my life has ever prayed for me. Oh, and it just made me feel so bad. But boy, something comes before. Take the opportunity, because you don't know who you're going to touch or what. And what happened to the lady since then, I don't know, but I've never forgot that.
You planted that seed, and
I hope so.
That
Yeah.
kind of tied into our first episode, praying for somebody in the moment.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Don't wait, because we have a bad habit of, we're humans, we forget and move on.
well, and even that, the impact wouldn't have been the same because she wouldn't have known he really prayed for her.
You can say it all day long and just
Yeah.
go about your ways. Yeah.
Yeah, another lady brought Lena this gift, a little old picture of a little white country church and the thing, and one of the other nurses that worked there, she loved that. Knowing my Lena, before we left, she gave it to her. You can work for the Lord no matter where you're at. And I'm not saying that bragging, but I'm saying
Sure.
that because of the wife I've got, that
Yeah.
Sir.
she's a God-fearing woman and she loves her Lord.
Yeah, we see it, man. She's
Well, the Bible says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing." You know.
That's right.
Yeah. So we all should be blessed as married men.
We are. I think.
But that makes that walking with Jesus a whole lot easier
Yeah.
if you've got somebody, you know.
Well, that's the important thing about being married. You know, marriage is full of struggles. There's going to be life's challenges that come from all different directions. And I'm not talking about like, you know, within your relationship with each other, you know, and that does come sometimes too. But, you know, life is full of ups and downs. And I was giving some advice the other day on a Facebook page, and I was talking like, look, you're taking two people with potentially two completely different lifestyles, and you're moving into a house together. You're one flesh and spiritually one, you know, you're one on the aspect of God, but you're coming from two different lifestyles potentially, and you're trying to find that healthy balance of, you know, you love each other so much that you're going to do things that you're not comfortable doing. You're going to do things that are different than the way you're raised. And then there's things you're not going to do because that's the way you're used to. And likewise the other way. And it shows that selfless love. And we have to have that mindset of, what can I do to outserve my spouse for their benefit? And that'll make or break a marriage. Mm-hmm. That'll make or break a marriage.
Well, the key to that too is one of the things to go with that, you know, is Lena don't drive no more because of her eyes. She had to have both corneas, you know, had transplants stuff, but she don't drive. But she'll say, well, I'd like to go to Belk's or the Coles or something, you know. And she said, I feel bad because you have to take me. But then that's our time together. You know what I mean? And we go, and I said, I'd rather be with you than anybody. You know what I mean? I do stuff with her. Mm. And even on vacation sometimes, you know, you'll take people with you on vacations, but you need time, just you and your wife.
Sure.
And even when we go to Florida, we were talking about this yesterday. On the way down, we used to go, we got so old we can't drive the whole thing now, but we stop and stay all night. But that's our time. We make our trip out of, you know, we just take our time and visit and share and talk about different things. And Lena will point out stuff that the Lord's are doing every day. Look here, what he's done here. See this, you know.
Wow.
You talk about her reading never when we went to Kentucky for that revival.
Well, I don't know. I don't know this one.
He said she read every sign on the way down.
Every sign on the way down.
It don't matter what sign said.
Well, what's a morning look like at your house? I mean,
well, I'm up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. I guess it's the military and work. I mean, like I never set a clock.
yeah.
If you say be over in the morning at 4 o'clock, I'll be here. I don't know. I've got to, you know, I wake up, but I'm usually up and I go get my brother and go to breakfast and come back. And Lena, when I get back, she's sitting there doing her devotions. I do mine before she gets up, but she's sitting there doing her devotions and stuff. And then it's just, we've decided it's what the day, we take it day at a time.
Yeah.
And what the day brings. If we want to ride to town, we go. If we've got somebody we want to go visit, we go. We've been down to, she's got an aunt that's ailing, and we've been down to see her a couple of times. Boys, there's more important things than getting all your work done and everything, you know. Mm. I found out in the last 15 years since I don't know how I done what I done when I worked, but I found out in the last 15 years, if you've got something to do and it's not really pressure, and your wife wants to ride to town, quit and go.
Mm. That's good advice.
Quit and go.
Yeah, it really is.
I need to take that advice because I'm bad about trying to go, and I just don't think about that. I need to do better.
Mm. When my granddaughter came along, I was a fisherman. I fished as much as Scotty did. I loved it. I had a boat and everything. And when she came, of course, parents worked, and me and Lena kept her a lot. And, well, she's the closest thing I ever had to a daughter. You know what I mean? My granddaughter is. But I sold my boat and everything, and I said, they'll be fishing when she's raised. Because, like I tell you, your little girls, you bat your eyes, and they're going to be, it happens fast.
Yeah.
Wow.
I already see that with like Bella coming into like preteen, and girls sometimes start in that change a little faster than guys, and so she's kind of going through that now, and that's hard. I mean, the Jews always, do a bar mitzvah when you turn 13 as a male. They call it something else for a female, I think. But it's weird to look at your little girl or any of your children and see them kind of turning into that woman or that man that God's called for them to be. But, God's been exceedingly faithful in my life and my story with my girls. And, when you think about the cost of leaving the world for Jesus and really committing, God is faithful. He's faithful time and time again. I think about how in Luke 9 or so, I believe it's where Jesus says, if you want to follow me, you have to deny yourself daily and take up your cross and follow me. And part of that following is being obedient to his calling. And then you see, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, you begin to see different fruits or God honor, God blessing you for obedience. And I'm encouraged with you and Lena because I think, like Heidi's been such an encouragement to me. God was so faithful when he brought her into my life. And from like a young man looking at you and Lena, I feel like God really, part of his restoration in you and your story was through Miss Lena.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. But it's important to take time I remember my brother, when he would be working, he'd be cutting tobacco or something. We'd be down in the field working, and I'd be wanting to get it done. One of his kids had come in from school with a problem. He throwed the knife down, went over and sat on the side of the barn, and they stay in there. But he took time to, and that's important, guys.
Yeah.
That tobacco patch will be there tomorrow, but that kid's a hurting. You need to listen to see, or anybody. If it's anybody, you need to listen and see what's going on because, like you say, it could make or break,
Yeah.
I watched my dad and as I was growing up and a lot of different things and pay attention to these, not to me, but the old guys, there's a lot of wisdom and they've lived it. And they can give you some advice that when I was a young boy, I thought was crazy, some of the stuff he said. But as I've got older, he knew what he's talking about. He'd been there.
Yeah, that's a problem with I can say it, our generation don't like to listen to it, which, I mean, maybe that just repeats itself over the years. Young man thinks he knows everything,
before my papa passed away, he'd pound some stuff into me, and I just gets aggravated. Blake witnessed it. He'd do it to Blake, he would, but I mean, it's all happening.
You think about it.
I mean, he's been gone, 3 years now? And it's, man.
That's been a rough one to get used to. Your grandpa, my dad and your and your papa being gone. I can tell you how many times I've picked up the phone to call your papa and I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah.
To ask some advice and I can't even think of all the questions I had for him the times I've tried to call him. It's just weird. That was a weird adjustment. It didn't hit till like 2 weeks after.
Yeah, it didn't seem real because he's always around.
Yeah,
he always came by and pestered us. He'd always not pester us, but
cut up. I forgot more than you'll ever know. He said, boys. He walked in at one time we was working. He said, boys, don't you forget, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. I was like, okay, you all right today?
Oh yeah, he's always giving us a hard time,
cutting up.
And like your dad, he's been gone a little over 2 years now. And
almost 2 years.
That's a big adjustment because he was a big part of this place.
Everything here, the farm, everything we did.
And this car behind us.
Yeah, that was my dad's car, and it's been different, man. That's and even though I don't feel like I talk to my dad as much as somebody with a good, healthy relationship with their dad does. I mean, I talk to him once, every 2 or 3 days. Growing up, I've shared before, my parents were divorced when I was 5, and he worked a lot. He missed ball games all the time. I mean, He didn't do what you're talking about much at all. But the time I did have with him, I cherished, and we always had a great time. I had a great relationship with my dad. I honored his word. Anytime he disciplined me, I took it very seriously. I looked up to him. And so, but in the last years before he passed, I mean, we were closer than we had ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, we talked, we didn't go more than 2 or 3 days without talking to each other. And we did a lot of stuff together. We'd deer hunt together. We'd piddle out here. We tried to build that deer feeder.
Yeah, we was just doing whatever he said.
Yeah. We was using all kinds of stuff trying to get that thing to stay together. But, I think about that, and I honor the good times I had with him, and I want to repeat that whenever I have children. And I want to be the dad that I looked up to,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's another thing, when you're walking with the Lord, I mean, you see a lot of good stuff. Like when my dad, when he passed, they told us, he was mowing one day and he run over something, and I said, something's wrong. So I took him to the VA, and they told us he had a brain tumor. And they said he was 88 years old, had a good life, but he said he's got 3 months to live. But I sat there, and I'd go daily, every day, and be with him, and even a quartet that sung Come to the House and sung to him because I seen the Lord working so much in this, But when it happened, I was ready for it. But when it happened, it's what they call the sting of death. It's reality then, and it really hit in here. But what I was going to tell you, we was at home that night, and he'd got so bad he was losing his sight and couldn't see, but he couldn't take his medicine, and he had a heart attack, which was a blessing. God knew what to do. He had a heart attack, but I remember when he had that night at the table, he was trying to eat, and I picked him up. And I thought of this when I was carrying him. I carried him in and laid him on the bed. And I thought, here I am carrying this man that carried me,
Mm-hmm.
And I thought when I was a boy, I thought nobody could touch me, he was it, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like I've heard Matt talk about it. But when I laid him down on the bed, I thought, well, this is it. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He looked up at me and winked at me and said, it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
That gave me a peace that it's,
Yeah.
it was just something about when I looked in his face, he said, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's like it takes that sting of death away.
It did. It did.
The hope in Jesus, the hope in eternal life,
It did.
the hope of overcoming death in the way that Jesus did when he rose from the grave. It's a peace that the world can't experience. We talk a lot about Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk, and the world started pointing fingers at her so quick. Like, how has she rebounded from this so fast? How can she get up and at these turning point rallies? And how can she do this? How can she say this? How could she even speak at her husband's funeral? I can't say this enough, that a funeral is a celebration of life for a believer. There's more to it. Of course it hurts, but that sting of death, when we give it over to God, and when we have full assurance that our loved ones are home in glory.
Yeah.
There's a lot of peace that comes with that.
Well, she's keeping her strength for her kids.
Yeah.
You can't. She has her moments.
Yeah.
She has her laying on the floor cries, I guarantee you.
Oh yeah.
But like you said, there's assurance in that. When my dad lived a pretty reckless life, and whenever he went to the hospital, and they knew it's cirrhosis of the liver, and I went up there. I spent a lot of time with him up there, and he kind of didn't have reality setting in. He was just like, we're gonna get my truck fixed. When I get out of here, we got to get this and this and this. And I'm just like, I'm listening to the nurses, and I'm like, man, this is just not what's going to happen. And they gave him an 8-month prognosis, and then come, the first half of December, maybe like December 15th area, he codes out in the hospital, and they had to do a blood transfusion to bring him back. And I went in there after. I didn't know about it till 3 or 4 days later. The doctor told me about it, and I went in there and I brought it up, and I said, man, you coded out. And he's like, yeah, I'm all right. My only problem is my blood pressure. That's my problem. And I said, Dad, you have severe liver disease. Like, you're in really bad shape. And he knew that. And this was the day before Christmas Eve. And I asked him, I said, I worded it very millennially, I guess to say. I said, are you and God good? He said, what do you mean? And I said, you and God. Like, you died within the last week and a half. You died, and they brought you back because of God's mercy. I said, you could go out at any moment. I said, you're not guaranteed. He wasn't taking his medicine. I said, you're not guaranteed this 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you're right. I need to straighten up. I need to, and right there at the hospital, he repented of his sins. He gave his life back to God. And that was on the day before Christmas Eve. And January the 27th, the next month, he passed away.
Wow.
He didn't make nowhere near the 8 months. Passed away the next month.
That's good stuff, Blake.
But, I was sitting there with him when he passed, and I felt the presence of God. And he was on, he's on medication to keep him from being in pain. He was asleep. But I would pray with him. I was talking to God, and he just keeps squeezing my hand. I knew he could hear me praying. And so when he passed, it was, at first I just felt like a relief. I thought, man, it was painful all the way up to it. And then the moment he went, it was like I felt the presence of God so close to me. And I was like, this is what it was all for.
Praise God.
And so he was 53 years old, I think 53.
Yeah.
And I think about, it sucks not having him around, but he got the best outcome he could have had, because he's with the Lord.
Amen.
And it wouldn't have went that way if he had another DUI and went that way or anything. Like, that was the way that God used, and I'm not going to sit here and say God made him sick or anything. His own sin caused his liver to fail, but God used it, and God reached out and grabbed him. And so I cherish that.
Yeah.
What did you say about when I can't remember. I mean, you can probably cut this out if I'm just all over the place right here. But what did you say about, like, you said, like, right after he passed away, you said something about, like, I've left me.
Right after he passed, I mean, I just felt the presence of God in the room, and as soon as he passed, I didn't linger. He passed away. He took his last breath. My mom was like, "He's gone." You know, my mom whispered that under her breath, and we sat there and we waited on the nurse to confirm the death. And I just got up and and everybody else, lingered around the body, and I walked out, and people were trying to grab me to make sure I was okay, and I said, "I'm fine." And I was like, they said, "Well, why are you leaving?" And I said, "Well, he ain't here no more. He's with the Lord." I said, "That's an empty vessel now." I said, "There's no use in hanging around in here." And I was sad, but I also had like a peace and a joy. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
That's the peace of the Lord. I mean, so many things in my life. I used to be terrified I used to think, well, if I had to go to the hospital for surgery or have this or that. And then I've had a couple little surgeries. I had a heart ablation and some different stuff done, but Lena couldn't believe it when she come back there. I was talking to the nurses about cooking old country meals and stuff. I didn't get afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I was not afraid. And I always dreaded that when I was younger. I thought, when I get older, I wonder what'll happen. It's the peace that the Lord gives you when you face things, if you trust Him.
Yeah. If your
Like
life
I say, when the water's getting choppy, reach out and take hold. He'll pull you out of there.
That's good.
Why don't we, since you're a car guy, why don't we switch gears a little bit? Talk about your car. Talk about your love for cars. Just to lighten it up here for just a few minutes. Of course, you've got the Camaro.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about it.
A toy. Well, the guy that went to high school, me and him been buddies, he bought it new, and he didn't drive it none, and he sold it to his girlfriend's son. He didn't drive it, so I asked him about it, so I bought it, and I've had it for 6 or 7 years now, I guess. But anyhow, it's a conversation piece. Me and Lena go to these car shows, and of course I've got Lena with me, and we meet a lot of people, met a lot of good people. You and you get to share the Lord with some of
Yeah.
these people.
Yeah.
And we've got a little group that goes with us, and most of those guys talk about God, and I mean, it's a good thing. It's
Yeah.
a good thing.
Have you guys got to see it yet?
I think
yeah.
I've seen it one time.
Got what, 11,000 miles on it?
Got
Yeah.
12,000. Now it's 2010. Got 12,000.
Yeah, that's so cool.
The Bumblebee.
Yeah, yep. It's Transformers edition,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's an original Transformer. I mean, it's not. They made. Somebody told me that it was like 1,500 of them in
Wow.
2000. It's the first year they come back out with the Camaro.
Yeah.
And like on your rockers, where it says GM on them, this one has actually got Transformer
Transformers.
on
That's
it.
pretty cool.
And it's inlaid in the console in the leather. It's got the Autobot on it,
Yeah.
and it's in the center caps, and it's got Transformer in the straps on the. It's kind of like it's Ghost in there. You have to look to see it. It
You ain't
says
figured out how to get it transformed yet, though, have you?
No. Every time we go to a show, there's always kids. I mean, they recognize it right off.
Oh, yeah.
And we've put a lot of little boys in it. I'll say, get in there and let them take your picture. Let them stand up in the seat. And they're
Sure.
looking out the window and stuff. And this one little girl got in. She asked Lena, said, when will it change? She wanted to change. But we've had a lot of fun with it. And we still like to go, And,
Yeah.
and me and you were talking, I talked about selling it, but Lena don't really want me to. She likes to go. But I don't need it. It's a toy. And
Yeah.
it's not a family car.
Yeah.
And like Lamar, I took Lamar Garrison to ride it one time, and he said, "You don't get in this. You put this on."
She'll sit you back.
That
man.
sounds like one of his comments.
Yeah.
don't it?
He said, "You have to put this on when you're riding it."
It sits you back. We were down 81 about Mike Tester's house, and he's like, "Watch this," and he dropped it into fourth or third, one of the
Yeah.
two, and it about squealed the tires.
Wow.
It'll sit you back.
Yeah, they're pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
How many car shows have you and Miss Lena been to? Like a ballpark, or is it even hard to calculate?
We try to go to all the churches. I mean, we go to Mount Bethel. The churches have them because they have fundraisers and stuff. But I don't know. We go to 8 or 10 a year, I guess.
Yeah. We got a lot of guys at church that are into cars, and I think that's really cool. Like you and Carlos.
Yeah.
And Carlos goes to car shows.
Man,
Yeah.
Carlos got some sweet rigs.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
Well, Patsy's got hers. Patsy's got a 210 Camaro, a
Yeah,
black
that-
one.
All of them
Nice.
got Camaros.
You need to go see Patsy's too.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And his son Travis has got one. Of course,
Yeah.
Carlos has got the old one. Of course,
Yeah. Yeah.
That one is.
I seen Travis the other day. I passed him.
Stanley's got a Mustang. Stanley Green.
Oh, really?
He's got a Mustang.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Who drives that black Corvette? He goes our church. You see it every once in a while.
I believe that's Tim's. It sits up there in front of us.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's his. I'm not sure, but I think that's his.
Yeah, you see it every once in a while.
Yeah, it's Tim's.
That's
Okay.
cool.
Timmy. I think Timmy McCurry.
Yeah.
I don't
Is
know
it-
if he goes by Tim or Timmy, but
Is it? I haven't seen it. What is it? An older one or is
No,
it?
it's like a 07, 08.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice.
Like a
It's black.
Z06.
Yeah, Z06
Okay,
Corvette.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I brought that up for a reason though about the Transformers to try tie it back in here, and we'll kind of, I'd say we're getting close to an hour.
Yeah,
so
we're
we'll-
at our hour mark.
So
here.
we'll start kind of bringing her to a close. But, that movie has always intrigued me with the transformations, and just how you can take a regular car like the Bumblebee and it would transform into these, remarkable things. And a true mark of a real believer is transformation, not conformity, right? Like we're not called to conform, but to transform. And,
That's good.
your transformation, I'm thankful for it. Even many years later, I know these guys are thankful for it because your transformation is an encouragement to me. And we all have these transformation. And if you haven't transformed, you're not, truly a Christian. You have to have transformation. Paul wrote in Romans, it's basically what I just quoted, but we're tempted to copy the customs of the world, but we're called to let God transform us into new people, changing even not only the things that we say, but the things that we do. So my last thing, I guess it would be a question is, when God calls you to transformation, for many people that can be a scary idea. It can be hard to leave behind the world and to pursue Christ. So what would like just one piece of wisdom that you could think about, just one nugget of wisdom that you could give to someone who might be watching this, who is on the line? They have this desire in their heart to transform. They don't want to live in the muck of life and sin anymore. They want to transform, but they're scared of what that looks like, because sometimes the future seems, it can be so uncertain that, we get anxieties, but can you just speak a little bit into your life, the transformation, and then God's faithfulness, and just any kind of wisdom that you could give to someone who's right on the line, that they're wanting to give their life to Christ, but they're timid?
The first thing you've got to do is clear your heart and make up your mind for yourself. Nobody can do it for you. It's something, even like an alcoholic. If you're going to quit drinking, nobody can make you quit. You've got to decide that for yourself. The next thing that helped me more than anything is get with people that will support you. And that's why it's important to have a church like I found. I mean, these guys back me, and I'm still being transformed every day. I mean, from where I was to where I am now, I've seen what the Lord has done through my life, how he's carried me, and I'm still not perfect and still face struggles, but I know there's somebody there that's watching after me and will help me.
Amen.
So that's what you got to put your faith in. And then when it's all said and done, and you look him in the face, hopefully he'll say, "Job well done, my good and faithful servant."
Yes, sir.
That's what you got to have there. So if you're wanting to make it, you just got to step out, call upon God, and get with people. I mean, you lose some, I don't know whether you'd call them friends, but you lose some people. You change your lifestyle.
Yeah.
You change your lifestyle. You try to leave that behind. It'll run after you, and it'll pick at you, and it'll grab you sometimes and bite you. But you got to keep going forward.
Praise
And
God.
be in atmospheres like this. Speak with guys. And everybody's got a story to tell. And people that's gone through divorces, if you've been through one, talk to somebody about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because you've been there. And that's the reason I say listen to these older guys. They've seen a lot of stuff. Pay attention to what they tell you, because when you get older, you'll realize that they know what they're talking about. They've lived it.
I preached on divorce a few weeks ago. It's one of the hardest sermons I've ever preached. And I mentioned how, like, in divorce, there's always pain and there's always some suffering, but the God his grace is greater, and he restores. And again, like, it's just a beautiful thing to see restoration in people's life. And part of that restoration is sharing that testimony with others who may be walking through those valleys, and, explaining and sharing how God was with you, through every step, and that he's fully, if he can restore someone like me, I should be confident to say, hey, he can restore you. He can restore anyone or anything. So, that was just, again, I'm thankful for your life, your story, your transformation, your God's faithfulness in your life. And one thing I was going to say early on in the podcast, and I hadn't, is everyone in life, I say this, needs a Paul, a Barnabas, and a Timothy. And you've very much been such a Barnabas to me, because Barnabas is the son of encouragement. There's a funny story to this. You want to tell it about the Barnabas? You remember Jane?
Yeah, Jane told me, I said, use Barabbas. I said, what? She got back.
Two completely different.
Yeah. I said, what?
Barabbas? That's his sister Jane.
Oh, man.
She's so funny.
Oh, she's funny anyway.
Yeah.
She's a little bully.
I was sitting with Jane one day, and I was like, your brother, Terry's just an encourager. He's a Barnabas to me. And then she went and told him
Yeah.
it's a Barabbas.
I told you Barabbas.
But there's not a Sunday or another day that goes by where you don't bring me encouragement. And I appreciate that. Again, I appreciate your love for God, your love for our church, your love for your family, your love for your country. Again, I thank you for your service on this Veterans Day. This is a special podcast to have you on. We are so honored that you would come and share with us and talk with us a little bit about your life and your testimony. And I know that many, many people who watch this will be blessed by it.
Well, I want to give you one thing of encouragement before we go. I know that a minister, it's got to be hard when you, Sunday, I mean, it was great. And you explain to people what they need to do, but when you stand there and nobody comes, I can see how that could be discouraging, and I mean, it's got to work on you. But I'm here to tell you, you made a difference in my life Sunday. The people that's there, if they listen to you, we've all lived it, and we know. And when what you talk about, we've talked about the tongue. I mean, we've all done that.
Yeah.
And just because somebody doesn't come forward,
We just need to continue to pray, and again, our calling is to just scatter the seeds, but just pray that God would begin to water those seeds, and that people will eventually I think that we've seen a lot of people come to know Christ, and I'm really excited, like just how God has been working and moving, and yeah, it can be discouraging sometimes when you think, but I also try to just remember like that those seeds are scattered, and sometimes they do mean, or I always struggled when I was teaching young people that they didn't get it, they weren't getting it, but then I began to realize that, man, like even sometimes a child that's sketching a little art piece, man, they're getting it. It's getting in there, and so I just give God glory. I'm just trying to do what God's called me to do, to scatter seeds. But this has been a wonderful podcast. I thank you for your encouragement in that, and just your encouragement always.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. Well, we thank everybody for coming in this time. Before we pray out, we just want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and follow on all of our platforms so that you stay in the loop on our continuous content that you can expect every week. We have a new episode on Thursdays at 5:30. That's a consistent thing. Matt's wife, Heidi, does a superb job of keeping a daily devotion on our Facebook page. You can follow that, and there's your devotional. You got a little bit of scripture there you can read further into if you want to get in more depth in the description that's on there. But that's a great way to stay in tuned. And then if you see pinned on the screen, there is an email that if you have any questions or any prayer requests, you can submit those through that email, and we can pray for you on the stream. We can pray anonymously. If you just make that note, if you don't want it to be shared on the stream, we don't care one bit to pray for you privately. One of us individually or all of us as a group collectively, we can pray for your issue. And then if you have any questions you want us to answer on the podcast, send them that way, and we'll get your questions answered and try to be as transparent about ourselves as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just keep up with we're really growing. We're going to be having a giveaway soon. Me and Heidi have got this gift basket that we've been building, and we're going to continue to build. We're going to be talking about that on all the socials, TikTok, Facebook, and maybe some YouTube stuff, mostly Facebook probably though. So
yeah,
all of you Facebook guys, and girls, just get ready for a giveaway. We want to make a big push for 500, and we're not far. We should honestly probably set the goal a little higher than that, but
I think you said it higher than that.
Yeah, but we need to make a push for some kind of number, but we're approaching 500 on Facebook, and we thank you for all of your support, your shares, your likes. It's God. We all believe here that if God is at the center, that this will be a big ministry, and we want that. We want to build up the church and lead the lost to Jesus. So guys, as always, it's been a real blessing. Terry, I hate to put you on the spot, and if you don't want to, again, I'll say the catchphrase. I can cut this out, but would you care to pray for us?
I'll do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Father, we do thank you for this good time that you give us here, Lord, but most of all, we thank you for being here. I thank you that I was able to share with these men what you've done in my life. I know, Lord, that I am a sinner, but I reach to you for my comfort and for my strength, and I thank you most of all for your grace. Bless our time here, Lord, that we had, and may that this reach someone that we can plant a seed that only you can save them. We give all the praise, glory, and honor to you, and we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.